Hi everyone. Today I have with me Yanique, and she is someone who has been doing amazing work in the period equity movement. She started an organization called Help a Girl Out, which is a nonprofit that aims to reduce period poverty, eliminate any shame attached to menstruation, and build self-esteem and reinforce gender equality. So we're really excited to talk to her today and hear her story of how she got started and hear the impact that Help a Girl Out has made so far. So, Yanique, it's lovely to meet you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and one thing that you like to do in your free time?
I'm Yanique. I started Help a Girl Out 4 years ago when I was 19 years old. And now we are an officially registered not-for-profit. We're also Global Citizen Prize winners for the year 2020, which is really awesome. I'm also a biomedical physicist. So I go to Ryerson and I study cancer therapy and imaging modalities and all that fun stuff. One thing I like to do in my spare time is build board games and fuse glass jewelry, which is really weird, but yeah.
That is so cool. What type of board games do you like?
Yeah, so there's this Jamaican board game called Ludi, or I think it's also in France and it's called Ludo, which they're like spin-offs of each other. And it's a Caribbean game. You play it with like dice and like little men. And
Mhm.
so we make them out of wood from scratch, and I sell them either on Etsy or on my website.
That is awesome. That's very cool. I don't know anyone who does that, so it's super cool to hear you having these really interesting hobbies. Um, and Yeah, so just to start things off, how did you first become passionate about the issue of period poverty?
Yeah, so for me, it's a personal narrative. Period poverty is something that I grew up experiencing for a long time in Jamaica. And, having experienced that and, watching my friends go through that and a lot of people around me go through that, in Jamaica, I sort of accepted it as, okay, we're all poor, we're all, sort of trying to make ends meet in other areas like, food and like school fees and all of that, right? So I thought, okay, it's normal to not always have money to manage your period. Fast forward to coming to Canada and going to Ryerson, going to high school up here and seeing that the same thing was happening here. Um, and this is a first world country. So I decided, you know what? No, it's not gonna happen. Like it's not good. You know, we need to do something about it. And a lot of people that I went around and I sort of told them like what I was feeling, what I was thinking, and about this issue, they kept denying that it existed.
Mm.
Right. But I knew my truth and I knew the truth of my friends. And then that's where it sort of opened up that period poverty is not something people talk about. You know, every one of us have all used tissue at one point or another, but then nobody wants to admit it because of all the stigma. So then when I found that there was so much stigma attached to this, um, you know, I decided, okay, what to do. I started Help a Girl Out. And it was really, really weird because here's this teenager opening a charity bank account, calling all these people, asking them, okay, how do I get a registered not-for-profit license and all these things at 19 years old? It was very weird. But then I just felt like I had a need, I had this great responsibility to bring light, to shed light on an issue like this that's, affecting people worldwide. Now look at it today, like period poverty is like globally recognized as an issue, whereas 4 years ago, it was like not so much.
Mhm.
Right. So that's how I started. I was just, a young girl in school. I think it was first year university at Ryerson. And I just decided, okay, enough is enough. I'm going to do something.
Mhm. Yeah, that's awesome. I think like what you've identified is um, so critical because like you had that personal tie to it and you were able to fight through what some people were denying in order to bring light on the issue. And then also, I think you're right nowadays that like there has been, because of the work that you've done and others like you have also done, there is more attention being brought to the issue of period poverty. And it takes people like you to take that first step and actually make sure that others know about it. So thank you for that. And also, thank you for sharing the story. Something that we are super excited to chat with you about is that you're Canada's winner of the 2020 Country Hero Award. So can you tell us a little bit about what it was like to receive the award, and does it mean anything significant to you?
Oh, absolutely. That award is like years of hard work, disappointments, roadblocks, shutdowns. It's all of that like being recognized. Like it's all that work that you do in the background, those sleepless nights, those campaigns where people are either welcoming or not so much. It's all of those ups and downs just like recognized. And we were completely blindsided, blown out of the water when it happened. I am so grateful to Global Citizen for the recognition that came after this award on the issue of period poverty, not just for Help a Girl Out, but it brought period poverty to the forefront of like Canadian conversation, right? Because a lot of people were saying, oh, this is Canada, these sort of issues that they might happen in an undeveloped country like Africa, maybe India, but it doesn't happen here. Having Global Citizen recognize that this is the organization that we're going to recognize for our Country Hero Award. They could have chosen any other charity, right, that's ending any form of poverty, but they chose a period poverty organization just to highlight that this issue is big. It's 1 in 3 Canadian women under the age of 25. That's a lot of us, that's a lot of students. That's a lot of, low-income families. That's a lot of people that need help, and so them, bringing this to the forefront was just like a blessing. And a lot of period poverty organizations too, like they just got, it was like that extra push, that extra encouragement to say, okay, we're doing something right. Let's continue pushing on, trucking on. Because, menstrual stigma is not a very easy thing to, tear down, because this is like centuries and centuries of brainwashing saying periods are dirty, periods are not natural, you have to, be separated from your family, you have to, hide it, you can't ask for a tampon, you have to go home and stay home from school, like all these things been happening for a very, very long time. So I feel like, 2020 and 2021 and like the future in Canada, it's gonna be better because of this award.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think like you're taking such a humble approach with this too, because you see that the value in the award is bringing more recognition to the issue rather than just recognition for yourself or for the organization. So I love that. You mentioned that there were some disappointments along the way. Can you speak to how you were able to still stay positive or still keep moving forward whenever you face disappointment?
Honestly, it gets hard sometimes, but you have to remember why you started. I have my mom. So another part of my story that I don't usually, put out there is that when I was younger and going through period poverty, my mom used to build me pads out of cardboard and plastic and all of that just to make sure I would stay in school, right? I have her with me every time I get down and she sees my disappointment. She's like, Yanique, remember why you started. Remember all those other girls that you have helped so far. Remember how many people that you have empowered to start, their own initiatives like this. Just keep going. It's okay. That was just one time, I've had campaigns where people actually come up to me in the streets and be like, oh, females are just looking for attention. You know, I've had people say that you can't be giving away products for free just because people need it. The world doesn't work like that. You know, and just like these little things that nitpick at you and sort of, you know, make you second guess, you know, what you're doing. You have to be firm and passionate and know that what you're doing is making an impact, you know, to just keep going, keep continuing. People are gonna be doubters and naysayers. You just gotta, you know, continue. And I have a wonderful team, a team of volunteers that rotate every year. We have different ones, but like we have a network of just people that support us, right? And as well as the other organizations, you know, Bleed the North, Bloom Red, Period Purse, like all these other organizations that, you know, when you're feeling like down and be like, okay, I don't even know if I can keep on doing this, you just go over there for some inspiration on their page, and then you just come back and you get all empowered again. Just go on and continue. So, you know, a lot of different inspirational people, you know, around.
That's beautiful. I think like what you've touched on a point is like there are two things that I pick up on that. Like one is like remembering your why, and always sticking true to like the core mission that you started with. And then two, like leaning on your community and leaning on your network to be able to support you through those hard times. Because I think like as a founder too, we hear that like, you know, starting something new can be very lonely sometimes, but I don't think it has to be that way. And I think you have recognized that and have figured that out, that you have your mom, you have the people around you, your team, and other organizations too that are all working together to fight this issue of period poverty. And yeah, I think I just want to thank you for sharing that part of your story, because I'm sure other people will be able to relate to that a lot. What are some of the responses to the Help a Girl Out initiative so far?
We've gotten very good responses. We have a lot of projects that we do every year. So last year we got a really good response from our Indigenous drive. So last year we sent 300 care packages to 3 communities up north with the help of an organization called Finding Our Power Together. This year we're doing the same thing, but we're doing 2 different communities, Muskrat Dam in Northern Ontario and Nampany, which is like, I think close to Kingston, Ontario. And we're sending another 300 up there. That initiative has gotten like very good responses, as well as, you know, they're like the best people to help, you know. People need help. So, you know, impacting the different communities is always like, you know, the best response to get, you know. As well as our campaigns get really good response. So our No More Bloody Secret campaign is, you know, world famous now. Before it was just a group of us, you know, in Toronto with signs, posters up, but now it's like, you know, people are recognizing it, you know, around the world, which is really, really, really cool. We have Bloody Secret interviews where we interview like different people in the community, sort of get them to start talking about periods and like, you know, have like just discuss their embarrassing moments and all of that. So that one has been good too. Like we have so many initiatives. There are too many at this point. It's too much. Especially this year, we have about like 5 of them that are upcoming that haven't even been announced yet. So I'm like, I would love to tell you about them, but I'm like, okay, I probably can't announce them beforehand. So, you know, yeah.
That's really exciting. I think the work that has been done so far and that will be done so far, seems like the response has been super positive. So that's awesome to hear. Do you have any like specific stories of how Help a Girl Out has impacted someone's life?
Oh, absolutely. So we get stories every single day. So one of our other programs is called the Period Product Support Program. So anybody within the GTA and even additional cities can apply for a 1 to 3 month supply of menstrual products free of charge, delivered right to their door. All they have to do is sign up via an application form on our website. And so far, like the feedback that we've gotten from the community, people that have lost jobs due to COVID, you know, people that are on disability living at home, like people that have 5 daughters and just can't afford it, you know, students that, you know, are even at home now because of the pandemic and still just can't afford it, you know. We have tons. We have tons of stories, which is really good. As well as we get a lot of stories that aren't, you know, attached to any of the projects that we have. Like there was this one girl that I remember, and she shared this story with us that when she was younger, her mom was a drug addict and she didn't have a dad. So her grandmother, who worked like nights as a custodian, would always come over in like the 1 a.m. and bring menstrual products for her. And she's like, when I realized that you guys had an organization surrounded, you know, by this, that, you know, had this happened when I was in that situation, that I could have received help from you. She's like, that's massive to me, you know. And that one was really touching for me, because I'm like, wow, I thought my, you know, situation growing up was bad, but you know, there's always somebody going through something harder, and this issue affects so many people, and for her to come out and share that story was major.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that too. I think it's like always really helpful to hear like the specifics of how different organizations like yours can actually impact people's lives.
Yeah.
Moving on to something a little bit more personal, do you have any period life hacks or tips that you've used in the past?
Life hacks? I don't know. My period is really, really hard to manage, which is weird, because I'm like, oh, I have a whole organization around here, and I struggle to manage my own. I should probably, you know, talk to my gynecologist, but like I have a really, really heavy flow. And so I found that the always overnights are not for nighttime for me. So that's a hack that I found. I just wear that thing throughout.
Yeah.
But another thing I found that is my diet really, really affects my period. And I actually learned that in one of Help a Girl Out's workshops. So we do this educational workshops. I went to the workshop myself and learned so many things that, you know, helped me on my own period. Yeah, your diet. Don't drink carbonated drinks on your period. Just don't do it. I didn't know. So now that I know, I won't ever do that ever again. But yeah, that's a life hack.
Yeah, I think like with the food and stuff, like growing up in I'm Chinese, so growing up in like a Chinese family, my mom would tell me like there are certain foods that you're supposed to avoid when you're on your period. So yeah, things that like are oily or very greasy can make your period worsen. And then also things like cold foods or like cold drinks. She said that that's something that we should avoid, and it's kind of tied to like the traditional Chinese school of thought around like how food has different properties of like warm or cool properties. And when you're on your period, you should avoid things that have that cooler property. So yeah, super interesting. I think like there could be some like cultural ties to it too, that are really fascinating. In terms of your own period experience as well, do you have any like funny moments or stories about your period?
Oh, I have tons. I have tons. It depends. You have to pick a topic. But one really traumatic one that I seem to share quite a bit, that is a shocker for most people, is that I got fired from my second job working with a city. So I was doing an official job working for the higher ups, and actually got fired because of my period.
Oh no. How did that happen?
I know. Everybody's like, how? Why?
Yeah.
But it has to do with the fact I was a special needs camp leader, and I wasn't allowed to take my eyes off of the person that I was taking care of, which is, you know, it's the job. But the thing is, I had to put in a tampon for the very first time in order to go into the pool, because they had pool activities.
Right.
But I wasn't supposed to take my eye off of the person at all. So then what I did was I thought I was making the most of the situation. So I got somebody else, another leader, to take care of the person in the male washroom while I go to the female washroom for like 5 minutes to suck it up there, right? I come back out I see the leader that I put in charge of the person, and they're like, oh, I don't know where he went. And I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Lost the person. 5 minutes. I was gone for 5 minutes. So they lost the person, and his disability was that he didn't understand danger. So what my boss was actually turning into the community center and found him about to run out into traffic. So yeah, so then she brought him inside. She looked for me. She found me. I was so frantic. I was like, what happened? Where is he? And she brought him inside, and she's just like, why did you take your eyes off of him? And I tried to explain to her my whole situation about my period. She's like, I don't care. You should have had that tampon in there long before, because you and him have to use the same bathroom. I'm like, so how do I even change? And she's like, well, it's part of the job. You just can't have that happen. And she's like, next time, don't have a period. Yeah.
Oh man. Like she said those words to you?
Yeah. But then at the time, I couldn't fault her because I understood. Because that situation could have gone so much worse, and it would have been my fault because it was my job. But I had never used a tampon before. I was like 15, 16. And yeah, I was learning a whole lot of things about being in the pool while on your period. I didn't even know it was possible. But then they told me that I couldn't skip that part of the job. I had to. So then I had to like insert this thing. Oh, I've never used a tampon since because I'm like traumatized.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't have anything to do with the tampon, but for some reason I'm just like traumatized now. I don't use them.
Yeah. No, I feel that. I've also I've done an internship working with special needs children as well. And I understand like your perspective too, because yeah, you do have to keep eyes on them 24/7. But at the same time, I think you weren't the only one responsible, right? Like there was the other counselor who should have been watching too. So I feel really bad because yeah, man, it's tough. And same thing for tampons. Like my personal experience is that I find that tampons are really difficult to remove for me. Like for some reason, it's just really painful. So yeah, that's why I stick to pads as well. It's just a little bit easier. But anyway, thank you for sharing that story. I'm sorry to hear that happened to you. But no, I really appreciate that you're so honest and open about sharing about your period
I kind of have
experience.
to be. Sometimes the stigma affects me too. Sometimes I'm like, oh, do I really want to share this? Yeah. But then you're trying to break down the stigma. So what other way is there to do it than just say it? It's okay. You know?
Definitely. Yeah. And I think sometimes that applies to all types of conversation too. It's better to be vulnerable about the experiences that you've had because other people can totally relate to it. Or even if they can't directly relate to it, then they can at least understand that, we're trying to provide a platform where people can be open and share and not feel embarrassed about some of the things that they've been through. Yeah. Okay, so lastly, is there anything that I've asked you or that I haven't asked you, sorry, that you would like to share?
I did see this question. Yes. Okay. Is this weird? I'm thinking we have a project coming up, right? It's our biggest one yet. We've never done a project this size before. It's Canada-wide. And we're sewing reusable sanitary products because we understand that this will eliminate period poverty for way longer than disposable products, right? So the one thing that I would say is, do you have anybody in your network that sews? Because what we're doing is we're recruiting sewers, right? And we give them the materials and they sew the pads and they send it back to us, and then we find the recipients wherever they are across Canada and give them a pack of these reusables. And then that way we can have period poverty to be something that we only address every couple of years, right? Because after the reusables run out, then we give them another set and it'll last for years at a time. So yeah, that's the only thing. Just asking if you know anybody that sews, sort of like, for right now, we have sewers from as far as British Columbia. We have a couple in Manitoba, we have a couple in Montreal, and we have a couple in the GTA. But we need about 100. So far, we have about 20. So we have a long way to go. And we're actually launching this project in like August, September. So fun fact.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. We can definitely distribute this around. I can like reach out to some personal contacts too. Right now I'm in Edmonton, but I will be moving back to, oh, okay, let me just pause the interview or let me conclude the interview and then I'll talk to you about this. So anyway, it's been great to talk to you, Yanique. Thank you so much for the time. Just so that everyone in our audience knows, our company Ruth is launching our sustainable and disposable pad through a crowdfunding campaign in a few days. It's launching on June 22nd, and we're offering discounts to people who sign up on our VIP list right now through our website at getruth.ca. And there's also a link in our Instagram bio, which our handle is also at getruth.ca. So follow along for more period memes, product updates, and a platform to talk about period, about anything related to menstruation. So thank you so much for your time today, Yanique, and we'll talk soon.